Wembanyama's silent warning to San Antonio. Victor Wembanyama did not need to threaten the Spurs to make them nervous. He only had to let them realize one terrifying truth. This is no longer a rebuild. This is a countdown. When a two-year-old superstar carries a franchise from the lottery to the NBA Finals, everything changes. The front office can no longer hide behind patience. Coaches can no longer talk like development has unlimited time. Once you get that close to a championship, excuses disappear. And that is where San Antonio is now. Wembanyama is preparing for the biggest contract of his career, but the money is not the real story. The real story is the message behind it. Victor is not just asking to be paid like a franchise player. He is asking the Spurs to build like they truly believe he can become the face of the league. That is what makes this summer so dangerous. The Spurs just reached the finals, but the Knicks exposed the truth. San Antonio had the superstar. They had the defense. They had the young talent. But when the game slowed down and the pressure got heavy, they did not have enough reliable help. Victor saw it. He saw the missed shots. He saw the blown leads. He saw how quickly a finals dream can collapse when the roster is not complete. And now the question hanging over the entire franchise is simple. Are the Spurs serious enough to win with him? Because if the answer is yes, this summer becomes one of the most important in team history. They need shooting. They need veteran calm. They need players who can make defenses pay when everyone collapses on Wembanyama. But if the answer is no, the clock gets louder. San Antonio knows the history. Cleveland once had LeBron. Oklahoma City once had Durant. Drafting a generational talent is not enough. Paying him is not enough. If you do not build the right team around him, eventually doubt starts to grow. That is why Wembanyama's contract is more than a celebration. It is a warning. Victor has already done his part. He gave San Antonio belief again. Now San Antonio has to give him proof. Proof that the finals loss was not wasted. Proof that the front office saw the same weaknesses he saw. Proof that the next time he drags the Spurs to the edge of a title, he will not be standing there alone. Because the real question is not whether the Spurs can afford Wembanyama. The real question is whether they can afford to fail him. Before we go deeper, tell me where you are watching from right now. If you believe the Spurs must go all in for Wembanyama this summer, comment 1. If you think they should stay patient and protect the young core, comment 2. And if you want more NBA stories like this, make sure you subscribe. The contract that changes everything. The money is not the mystery. Everybody in the league already knows the Spurs are going to pay Victor Wembanyama. You do not find a player like this, watch him become the center of your entire basketball universe, and then start negotiating like he is just another young star. That is not the real story. The real story is what happens after the signature. Because once Wembanyama's extension becomes official, San Antonio's future starts changing shape. Every dollar on the books matters more. Every roster mistake becomes harder to fix. Every contract around him has to be judged by one brutal standard. Does this help Victor win a championship, or does it just make the cap sheet heavier? That is the pressure hiding behind the celebration. A 5-year extension worth hundreds of millions sounds like security, but in the modern NBA, security can quickly become a cage. The Spurs will lock in their franchise player, but they will also lock themselves into a financial timeline. Right now, they still have flexibility. They still have young players on rookie deals. They still have draft assets. They still have room to make moves that could change the entire direction of the roster. But that room will not last forever. That is why this summer is so dangerous. San Antonio cannot simply say, we have Victor, so everything will be fine. That is how organizations fool themselves. Having a generational player gives you the chance to build something historic, but it does not build it for you. The front office still has to find shooting. It still has to find toughness. It still has to find players who can survive the final 5 minutes of a playoff game when every weakness gets hunted. Wembanyama's contract will reward him for becoming elite. The incentives, the award language, the escalators, all of it points toward one belief. He is not hoping to become one of the best players alive. He already expects it, and that expectation changes everything. If Victor believes he is ready to compete for MVPs, Defensive Player of the Year awards, All-NBA selections, and championships, then the Spurs cannot keep acting like a patient rebuilding team. They have to act like a franchise standing at the edge of a title win. The difficult part is that San Antonio has always been comfortable with patience. That was the Spurs way. Draft well, develop slowly, trust the system, avoid panic, build with discipline. That method created one of the greatest dynasties basketball has ever seen. But Wembanyama's timeline is not Tim Duncan's timeline. The NBA moves faster. Now, rumors move faster, pressure moves faster, superstars understand their power earlier. And when a player this special reaches the finals at 22, it speeds up. That is what the contract represents. Not just money, not just loyalty, not just commitment, It is a timer. And the moment it starts, the Spurs will have to prove they already know what comes next. The finals loss that exposed the truth. The Spurs did not lose the finals because Victor Wembanyama was not ready. That is what made the loss hurt even more. He was ready. His defense was ready. His presence was ready. His ability to change an entire game was ready. There were moments when he made the Knicks look uncomfortable on every drive, every pass, every shot near the rim. But championship basketball does not forgive incomplete teams. Against New York, San Antonio's weaknesses became impossible to hide. The Spurs built leads, they controlled stretches, they looked younger, longer, and more explosive. Then the game slowed down. The Knicks adjusted, and the truth came out. The Spurs did not have enough reliable shooting, they did not have enough veteran calm, they did not have enough players who could create offense when New York loaded up on Victor. That is the difference between reaching the finals and winning them. The Knicks understood they did not have to stop Wembanyama completely. Nobody can. They only had to make life harder for everyone else. They dared San Antonio's role players to hit shots. They forced the guards into uncomfortable decisions. They turned every late-game possession into a test of poise. Too often, the Spurs failed that test. Those blown leads were not accidents. They were warnings. When a team keeps getting ahead but cannot close, something deeper is missing. Maybe it is experience. Maybe it is shooting. Maybe it is roster balance. Maybe it is all of them. For Wembanyama, the lesson was clear. He could block shots, score, rebound, and protect the paint like a future all-time great. But when the pressure reached its highest point, he still needed help. He needed teammates who could punish defenses for collapsing on him. He needed shooters who would not hesitate. He needed another wave of strength when the Knicks threw everything at him. That help did not come consistently enough. And that is the pain San Antonio has to live with. They were not far away, they were close. Close enough to believe, close enough to hurt, close enough to know exactly what went wrong. That kind of loss changes a superstar, because once Victor sees the gap, he cannot unsee it. Wembanyama saw the problem before everyone else. The scariest part for the Spurs is not that Victor Wembanyama wants more. The scariest part is that he was right. Before the finals exposed San Antonio, Wembanyama had already seen the problems. He knew the roster needed more shooting. He knew the spacing was not strong enough. He knew that if defenses packed the paint, the Spurs would need reliable players around him to punish them. That is not normal for a 22-year-old star. Most young players are still learning how to survive the league. Victor is already reading roster construction like a front office executive. He is not asking for better teammates because of ego. He is asking because he understands playoff basketball. If the corners are not dangerous, the paint becomes crowded. If shooters hesitate, defenses get brave. If role players disappear, a finals run can collapse fast. Then the Knicks proved him right. Every missed open three became evidence. Every second half scoring drought became evidence. Every possession where New York loaded up on Victor became evidence. Wembanyama was not being dramatic. He was warning them. That is why his voice carries so much weight now. When a superstar identifies the exact problem that later ends the season, the organization cannot pretend it did not hear him. San Antonio needs players who fit Victor's game, shooters who make defenses pay, wings who defend without needing the ball, veterans who stay calm when the lights get bright. A Wembanyama team cannot survive with average spacing. His greatest advantage is the attention he demands. If the Spurs surround that attention with weak shooting, they are wasting one of the most powerful forces in basketball. His message is simple. Do not just build around me. Build around me correct. And that is the hard part. Correctly means making painful choices. Correctly means choosing fit over names. Correctly means understanding that talent alone is not enough. The Spurs do not need to guess what Victor wants. He has already shown them. Now they must prove they were listening. The new standard in San Antonio. Something changed in Victor Wembanyama before this season began. He did not sound like a young star waiting for permission. He sounded like a franchise player setting the standard. That is what separates good players from transformational players. Good players improve themselves. Transformational players force everyone around them to rise. Wembanyama is becoming that kind of force in San Antonio. The Spurs are no longer just building around his talent. They are being shaped by his mentality. He wants accountability. He wants preparation. He wants teammates who treat every possession like it matters. He wants a locker room that does not hide behind youth when the game gets uncomfortable. After the finals, that demand became even stronger. Losing on the biggest stage teaches lessons winning cannot. It shows who stays calm. It shows who gets tight. It shows who wants the ball and who hopes the ball goes somewhere else. It shows whether your culture is real or just a nice phrase for interviews. Victor saw all of it. He saw the difference between being talented and being complete. He saw the difference between reaching the finals and being ready to win them. He saw how New York used experience, patience, and toughness to turn San Antonio's dream into heartbreak. That kind of loss can break a young team, or it can sharpen it. Wembanyama seems determined to make sure it sharpens the Spurs. He is not asking for panic, he is asking for seriousness. He wants every player, coach, and executive to understand that getting close is no longer enough. The developmental phase is over. That does not mean the young players stop growing. It means growth must now serve winning. Practices have to feel different, film sessions have to feel different, off-season decisions have to feel different. Nobody in San Antonio gets to act like the Spurs are just happy to be here, because Victor is not happy to be here. He wants to win, and when your best player thinks that way, the organization has two choices: match his urgency or slowly lose his trust. That is the new standard in San Antonio. Not potential, not patience, championship behavior, the De'Aaron Fox problem. De'Aaron Fox is good enough to make this conversation uncomfortable. That is the problem. If he were clearly not good enough, the decision would be easy. If he were clearly perfect next to Wembanyama, the decision would also be easy. But Fox lives in the complicated middle, where talent, money, timeline, and fit all collide. He helped the Spurs win. He gave them speed, rim pressure, and veteran creation. During the regular season, that mattered. San Antonio does not reach 62 wins by accident, but the finals asked a tougher question. Is Fox the right guard to help Victor win championships? When the Knicks tightened the floor, Fox struggled to punish them enough. When the pressure climbed, the shot making was uneven. When San Antonio needed another star-level answer beside Wembanyama, the results were not always there. In the modern NBA, uneven becomes dangerous when the contract is massive. The Spurs cannot pay for reputation. They have to pay for fit. If Fox is making superstar money, he cannot simply be good. He has to be the right kind of good. He has to make Victor's life easier. He has to open the floor. He has to close playoff games when opponents load up on Wembanyama. If he cannot do that consistently, San Antonio must ask the painful question: would the team be better using his contract differently? That does not mean Fox failed. It means the Spurs have reached a level where normal success is not enough. Championship teams make hard decisions before the pain becomes obvious. Then there is Dylan Harper. Harper's rise gives San Antonio another path. Younger, cheaper, more aligned with Victor's timeline. Maybe not fully ready yet, but already showing the confidence of a guard who does not fear pressure. If Harper is the future, Fox becomes a question. Not because he cannot play, but because his salary, role, and trade value might be needed to fix bigger problems: shooting, defense, depth, and playoff toughness. That is the kind of decision that defines a franchise. Trade too early, and you risk losing a proven star. Wait too long, and you risk trapping Wembanyama beside an expensive but incomplete roster. The Fox problem is not really about Fox. It is about whether San Antonio has the courage to choose the best future, not just the most familiar one. Dylan Harper, Castle, and the future core. The hope for San Antonio is that part of the answer may already be in the building. Dylan Harper and Stephon Castle are not just young players with upside. They could be the bridge between Wembanyama's present and the Spurs' next decade. Harper gives the team a different kind of pressure. He attacks with confidence. He sees the floor. He does not look scared when the game gets heavy. Some players produce when the game is loose. Others stay calm when every possession feels like a trial. Harper has shown signs of being that second type. That matters next to Victor. Wembanyama does not need a guard who only dominates the ball. He needs a guard who understands timing. When to feed him. When to attack. When to punish a rotation. When to slow the game down. Castle brings another piece: defense, physicality, edge, the kind of presence that raises a team's floor even when shots are not falling. Championship teams need players like that. Not everyone has to be a star, but everyone needs a playoff purpose. That is what makes the Spurs' future exciting. Wembanyama as the centerpiece, Harper as the lead guard growing beside him, Castle as the defensive tone setter. Then add shooting, veteran stability, and playoff toughness around them. That is a real blueprint. But there is danger too. Young cores get expensive fast. Today, Harper and Castle are gifts because they are on rookie deals. Tomorrow, they become major financial decisions. If Harper keeps rising, his next contract will be huge. Castle will eventually need to be paid too. Add Wembanyama's deal, add other salaries, and suddenly the Spurs are no longer flexible. That is why the front office must decide who is truly part of the long-term core. Fans get attached. Locker rooms build relationships. Coaches trust familiar faces. But title teams cannot build only with emotion. They have to think clearly. Wembanyama, Harper, and Castle could become the future, but only if San Antonio protects the structure around them. The Spurs must avoid bad contracts, avoid emotional decisions, and avoid spending just because they can. Victor wants to win now, but the wrong win now move could damage the next 10 years. That is the tightrope San Antonio is walking. The war chest and the one summer that mattered. The Spurs have assets. That is what makes this situation so intense. They cannot say there is no path. They have draft picks. They have young players. They have financial flexibility right now. And most importantly, they have Victor Wembanyama, a superstar who makes San Antonio attractive again. The tools are there. Now comes the test. Assets do not win championships sitting untouched. Draft picks do not hit corner threes in June. Future swaps do not defend Jalen Brunson in the final minute. Assets matter only when a front office knows when to keep them and when to spend them. That is the decision San Antonio faces. Do they push in now? Do they trade for a proven wing who can defend, shoot, and handle playoff pressure? Do they add veterans before the cap becomes tighter? Do they use this window to build a deeper roster around Victor? Or do they wait? Waiting feels safe. It keeps options open. It protects the future. It avoids the embarrassment of making a big swing that misses. But this is not a normal rebuild. This team just reached the finals. This team has a two-year-old superstar who already knows what the championship stage feels like. And the problems are not mysterious. Shooting, depth, experience, and reliable support were all exposed. Those problems can be fixed, but only if the Spurs act before the window closes. A year from now, the situation may be harder. Wembanyama's money rises. Young players move closer to extensions. Fox's contract becomes heavier. The cap sheet gets tighter. A move that is possible today may become impossible later. That is how windows disappear. Not all at once. Quietly. One delayed decision at a time, one missed trade at a time, one conservative summer at a time. Wembanyama is not asking San Antonio to be reckless. He is asking them to be awake. Reckless teams chase names. Serious teams chase fit. Reckless teams panic after losing. Serious teams study why they lost and fix it. That is what the Spurs must do now. Use the war chest wisely. Not emotionally, not timidly, wisely. Because this summer may decide whether San Antonio is building a dynasty or delaying regret. The fear every small market team understands, every small market franchise knows the nightmare. You draft a superstar, you develop him, you build the city's hope around him, fans buy the jersey, the arena fills, national media finally pays attention. For a while, it feels like the future belongs to you. Then the questions begin. Is the roster good enough? Is the front office bold enough? Can this market attract the right help? How many painful playoff losses can the superstar take before patience turns into doubt? That is the fear San Antonio must avoid. Nobody is saying Victor Wembanyama wants out. That is not the story. The story is more subtle, and that makes it more dangerous. He does not need to demand a trade for pressure to exist. He does not need to criticize the team publicly for the message to be clear. His ambition is the pressure. His timeline is the pressure. His greatness is the pressure. The Spurs know the history. Cleveland had LeBron James and still struggled for years to build the right formula. Oklahoma City had Kevin Durant, Russell Westbrook, and James Harden, and still watched a possible dynasty slip away. Those stories haunt front offices because they prove one painful truth. Talent does not guarantee time. Superstars may love a city. They may respect an organization. They may want to win where they were drafted. But if the path to a title feels blocked for too long, the conversation changes. That is what San Antonio must prevent. Wembanyama is smart enough to see everything. He understands contracts. He understands roster construction. He understands how quickly a window can open and close. He knows the Spurs have assets now. He knows they have flexibility now. That awareness is a gift. It is also a warning, because a superstar who understands the process will also recognize when the process is failing. If San Antonio gets this right, they can become a model for the modern NBA. A small market team built on development, intelligence, courage, and a once-in-a-generation player. If they get it wrong, the story changes fast. Every loss becomes a question. Every quiet offseason becomes criticism. Every missed trade becomes evidence. The nightmare is not losing one series. The nightmare is losing Victor's belief. And once that belief cracks, it is hard to fully repair. That is why this summer is not just about improving the roster. It is about protecting trust. The choice that defines the Spurs' future. The Spurs are standing in front of a decision that could shape the next decade. They can stay patient, protect the young core, trust Harper, trust Castle, and believe development will eventually catch up to Wembanyama's greatness. That path fits the old Spurs identity. But patience becomes dangerous when your superstar has already reached the finals and knows how close the team really is. They can also go aggressive, trade picks, move salary, add a proven veteran, find the shooter, the wing defender, or the closer who can help Victor win right now, that path shows urgency. But one wrong move could damage the future. So the best answer may be bound. Keep the true young core, but do not hoard every asset like time is unlimited. Add shooting, add toughness, add experience. Use the draft capital wisely. Improve the team now without destroying what can make it great later. That is the lesson from this entire story. Greatness needs help, talent needs structure, ambition needs action. Wembanyama cannot carry everything alone, and the Spurs cannot simply admire him while waiting for the perfect moment. Championship teams are built through trust, sacrifice, discipline, and brave decision. Victor has already shown San Antonio what is possible. Now San Antonio must prove it deserves the future he can give them. If the Spurs get this right, this finals loss may become the pain that started a dynasty. If they get it wrong, it may become the first warning sign everyone ignored. If you believe the Spurs should go all in around Wembanyama right now, comment 1. If you think they should protect the young core and stay patient, comment 2. If you think De'Aaron Fox should be traded, comment 3. And if you believe Victor will bring a championship to San Antonio, comment 4. Don't forget to like, share this video with another NBA fan, and subscribe for more deep NBA stories like this.